You and I have met 2010 on the
Okay.
the Wormrot tour when you started out driving Phobia and then you actually ended up in the band.
Oh my God, that was such a mess, that whole tour. Um, yeah, I had been driving them on a couple of tours and just like hanging out with them. And then I think the guitarist that had been with them for forever, Steve Berta, he had something with work and like kept flying home. I feel, if I remember it right, he flew home like multiple times on that tour.
Yeah.
And like Phobia just didn't play those shows. And towards the end, the dudes were like, "Can you just learn these songs?" But that was really fun and weird and cool. I love Wormrot so much.
Yeah, that was a very interesting time for me because I had just quit my job and I was completely broke. And the Al over at Earache, he's like, "Hey, we got this band coming over from Singapore. You want to drive them, and we'll pay you some money to do that." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, man. I got nothing else going on." So yeah, they're great people. They're a sick band, and that was quite an experience, man. It was like I feel like
Oof.
if they hadn't had someone like me on the tour with them, things would have gone a lot darker than it actually did.
Was it weird for you to be on tour and not play?
Incredibly weird. I never did
That
it
was,
before.
I was thinking that because I've only done that a handful of times, and that including like the first couple of times I was driving Phobia before I started playing with them. And dude, it's a different thing when you're on tour and you're not playing every night. It's like you don't get the same risk reward benefit in your body every night. It's a little bit different for sure.
Yeah, it's not for me. Because there was like, I was trying to change things around in my life, and I was like, maybe I'll be one of these guys who goes on tour with other bands, and it's definitely not for me. I like going out there and doing being part of the operation, above playing, not just behind the scenes.
Dude, same. I did it actually the last like real tour that I was on before I started my bakery was with Acid King, and I was tour managing and driving Acid King in 2015. And it was like their first American tour in 9 years or something. And I'm a huge Acid King fan, so I was like, hell yeah, when they asked me to go with them. And Lori from Acid King is her partner is one of the dudes with Ghoul. So I had just gotten off a Ghoul tour and he recommended me to her. And it was cool, but it was not really my thing to be out there every night and not getting to play. I was like, I don't think I'm going to do this again.
Nah.
I think I've learned my little lesson here.
Also, it's like it got in the way of the band. Honestly, you know what I mean? It's like I was gone for like I don't know 5 weeks, and Toombs has always had a pretty good tour schedule, and I don't know. It just I felt like I can feel it when I got back home that the guys were like, all right, when are we gonna do? What's going
Yeah.
on now? When are you leaving again? And that was really it. Like I did that one tour, and I decided that that kind of thing wasn't for me. I mean, it was fun. The Wormrot guys are great. And
I remember being so like they did not want me to smoke weed around them because they said they had to get tested at the airport when they went back to Singapore. Do you remember that?
yeah, I mean that's the thing, man. Like it
That
was a
was so
real.
strange.
It was very strange, but that type of suppression is real in Singapore. I mean,
It was very interesting getting to hear about that from them.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
he also they told us that you had to have a license to play drums in Singapore. I remember
A
that.
license?
Yeah, he said he had to get a license to play drums.
Wow. Huh.
Yeah.
I wonder what
Oh,
that
I
kind of
also
test entails, like playing blast beats or whatever.
maybe like a permit. Maybe it's more like you have to have a permit to be loud or something.
Damn.
I also remember they were really obsessed with Kentucky Fried Chicken,
No,
right?
no, it was Church's Chicken.
Church's Chicken.
Yeah,
Okay,
that was
yeah.
it. They would take their PDs, they would take all their per diems and pull it together and get like one of these like massive Church's Chicken, like box sets or whatever the hell you get. You know what I mean?
Big buckets.
Yeah, a big Church's Chicken like bucket, and yeah, I mean they're very pragmatic people. The Wormrot crew. You know what I mean?
I love them so much. Also, ASEAN, she was like a godsend to me. I love having another girl on tour. Being stuck in a van with the Phobia dudes all the time was pretty exhausting. So having like a girl to hang out with at shows was so nice. Oh, and she's so cool too.
Yeah, she's great. She's awesome. I got along great with her, and the whole. It was good vibes, man. Honestly.
Hell yeah.
And
I
like,
got to meet you.
yeah, totally. Hell, we're doing this podcast together 12 years later. But so yeah, let me couple things I want to talk about. Like all right, so the bakery, Zucchini Kill, veganism,
Yeah.
like all these things. Austin,
Yeah.
Texas. You're an Austin, Texas native too, aren't you?
I'm from San Antonio, so
Okay.
just an hour south. But I got here as fast as I could.
Right on. So, but you're a Texan.
I'm fifth generation Texan, which is something my family is apparently very proud of.
Now, let me ask a question about being a fifth generation Texan and the kind of crisis that's going on down there right now. Or you guys sort of are past the worst of it. So how would it all, what was it like in the midst of all this freak weather conditions, your local government reaction, like all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, well, to start, it's like, dude, we've been really disappointed with our governor, Greg Abbott, with everything that he does, but in particular, the situation that he's been putting us in regarding COVID and really not having our safety in mind. He was like, he's such a Trump supporter. He could not break, his loyalty to him. So that's been really frustrating just this whole past year. And he's been in office for a long time. So when we got notifications that it was going to be super cold, like, under 20 degrees here, we already knew that for like over a week. Like we saw that in the forecast. I mean, I was preparing for it because I personally have never been in single digit weather in my whole life, like touring or not. Like I have never experienced that kind of weather before. And with my bakery, I have a kitchen and I have a retail shop. So that's immediately two places that I knew I had to prep. Also, it was supposed to start getting cold on Valentine's Day, which is, as a bakery, one of our most busy, like we highly anticipate baking for Valentine's Day. We do lots and lots of custom orders. Zucchini Kill does heart-shaped cookie cakes that we let our customers like make them custom message, like whatever they want to give to for their friends or for their partners or whatever. But it's usually a really big deal for us. So it was scary knowing that if the storm hit early, I might not be able to open on Valentine's Day. And that's exactly what ended up happening. We baked our asses off all week to be able to accommodate the orders that we knew we were going to have for the weekend. And then on Saturday, which was February 13th, it was already cold. It was already like 25 degrees, which, I mean, I don't have a heater in my shop. And so we just had like blankets. I had started emailing and calling basically everybody that had placed a custom order with us, asking them, please, can you come today to get these? Like, we don't know that we're going to be able to open on Valentine's Day. And pretty much all of our customers were super cool about it. Already, a few of our customers were like, it's already not safe for me to drive out there. So I froze a lot of people's orders, and people were super cool about getting it postponed and coming to get their Valentine's orders if they weren't able to come that day. But for real, I was freezing my ass off in the shop on Saturday, and Sunday it was already snowing. So for us to get snow, I know this sounds silly, but I mean, it's a really, really, really big deal. Like, I grew up not seeing snow the first 20 years of my life. So to have snow in Texas, as far south as I live, is a big deal. We get excited. So when Sunday night, I was like seeing what in my brain was a blizzard. I was like, oh my gosh, the wind is blowing the snow. I was like out there in my boots, like meditating in the snow, like thinking it was so epic and cool. And then our power went out
Oh
that
no.
night. And I was like, oh shit, it'll come back on. And it didn't come back on for a very long time. I didn't have power for 3 days. My business partner, Jess, she didn't have power for almost an entire week. And I mean, I was immediately texting my friends in San Antonio, and nobody there had power. It was really, really scary. It got super cold in our house immediately. My house was at 30 degrees after 24 hours. And we were just, also, I don't have a gas stove, so I didn't have any way to cook or anything. I don't have a fireplace. Rocky and I built a fort, and we were just hanging out in the fort with our dogs, like reading books to each other, trying to stay warm. But it was super disappointing. Things that I hadn't really paid attention to before this situation was the fact that Texas is the only state that's on our own grid, and that Texas has a energy reliability organization that is run by people that don't even live in Texas. And although ERCOT, which is the overseer organization, is considered a nonprofit, there are a lot of people that are making a lot of money off of the energy resources here. So something that I spoke to my grandmother about is that she lives in a city called Bernie, Texas, which is kind of in the middle of nowhere, and she has options for her energy. So she had two companies to choose from for her power. And I didn't experience that when I lived in San Antonio. We just had, whatever the energy company is there. And in Austin, it's called Austin Energy. But they're able to make the rates whatever they want. And apparently, with the government that we have here, Texas has been warned as recent as 10 years ago, being like, hey, your grids will not survive in cold weather. And instead of taking the money and the resources to remedy that, they just continue to profit instead of fixing any of it. So I really feel like we were set up for this kind of situation. I did hear our ex-governor, Rick Perry, say, Texans should be prepared to not have power for a few days in exchange for us being able to maintain an independent grid.
Oh,
and I found that to be pretty offensive, but I heard we were trying to get power from Mexico. Oh yeah, let's hit them up to try.
Let's figure out another way to exploit Mexican people.
yeah. And interestingly enough, when I was talking to my grandmother, who she's 90 years old, I asked her. I was like, "So do you still think that we should be on an independent grid?" And mind you, she didn't lose power, but she's like, yeah, Cecilia, that's the price we need to pay. I'm just like, for our independence. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? What the hell? Like, people are dying. There was a young kid that froze to death in Houston. There's people that need, machines to stay, machines to have power so that they can live. People with health problems and all kinds of things. And we were out of power for days, dude. So it was really, really scary. And I was, oh my God, not to mention our unhoused population here in Austin is outrageous. And there's amazing organizations here, like grassroots mutual aid organizations that did a lot of work to get a lot of our unhoused people into hotels. And let me tell you, then the hotels were gouging their prices. I mean, there were hotels in Austin that would go for $100 a night that were up to $900 a night.
That's really disgusting, man. When I hear stories like that, I just get angry.
I mean, clearly, yeah. And I will say, I've been looking at my energy bill, and I'm on budget billing, so they try to send me the same amount every month. But there's a lot of people in Dallas that are not on the budget billing. They're getting the kilowatt billing, and they have $10,000 of electric bills from this last month because of this whole situation, because the demand went high. So and the availability was low, so they're price gouging people's electric bills in some areas. So it's just beyond upsetting that, it's an all for profit thing. Oh, I have to say one more thing is that like there is so much natural gas and coal energy here in Texas. And I don't know if you saw this, but our governor went on TV, and instead of saying like, yeah, clearly the grids have failed Texans, he was like, this is why we can't have the Green New Deal. This is why like clean energy is a problem. And he blamed wind turbines,
Yes,
which,
I saw that. That was like the most.
can you even believe that?
It's beyond like reason, man. Like just the fantasy world that a lot of these conservative people live in, and just the lies and the wholesale belief in these lies by people who just support it. It's beyond me.
It's disappointing, dude. And like, I felt like I was disappointed before, but I mean, it's been a whole mess. And now we have water at my house, but we were under, a boil notice for many, many days. And some people still don't have clean water, and some people still don't have any water at all. So it's kind of a mess. I also heard Governor Abbott say that we've provided warming centers for people, which, going back to COVID again, it's like, who's going to need to go to those warming centers? The vulnerable population, and who's most likely to be super, super ill from COVID? Vulnerable people. So it's a mess. And I'm so grateful that I have power now. And I'm going to become one of those preppers, dude. I'm going to like get the life straw and like
Oh
a
yeah,
ton of
I got all that
flashlights.
stuff, man. I actually have all that stuff. I have one of those
Good for you.
Berkey water filters. It's
Mm,
like you just got to keep the tank filled, and
cool.
all the water that I drink is filtered through like charcoal, and the water I give to my cat is like filtered, and it's like it's the only way to fly, man. It's there's so much stuff in processed water, besides from minerals. You know what I mean? It's a good thing to do, And then I have like I add like electrolytes and things like that, And it's I think it's a good positive thing to do to filter your water.
Dude, I got one of those Aqua True filters that Aaron Brockovich is talking about was
Yeah.
talking about. Yeah. I love her so much. She's so cool.
Well, yeah. I mean, she's someone
Like,
who like took on like major corporations and like was a whistleblower. That was awesome.
y- yeah, she's amazing. I definitely got the water filter that she recommended. I got it a couple months ago, and now I'm spoiled. That water be tasting real good.
Yeah, I have like when stuff started getting crazy, like mid 2020, I
Yeah.
started getting really paranoid about the election and stuff like that, and and just crazy people. Like
Understandably so.
I live out in Jersey, which is fairly liberal, but there's also there's like some people out here, you know what I mean? Good, certain types of backgrounds, you know what I mean? Like cops and like firemen and those types of guys. And I just
Yeah.
remember getting like hard looks from people at the Home Depot. And I'm like, man,
Ruh-roh.
things might like get crazy. So I started buying like I have like a little gas stove, like a camping stove that runs on propane. I've got like MREs in case I have like a bug out bag in case like some shit hits the fan and I got to roll. You know what I mean?
Dude,
And
I'm with you.
yeah,
I am so inspired.
yeah. And I had like talked to my family. I'm like, look, if something happens, this is what I'm gonna do. I'll make sure you got like like my mom and dad are on medications and things like that, and just have a plan. You know what I mean? You never know what the fuck's
Yeah,
gonna happen
totally.
these days, especially what did happen in January 6th, man. I'm like, you got like a
Yeah.
horde of like these like hillbillies like attacking the Capitol. I mean, it's like anything can happen right now, And there's like I got like a healthy paranoia, I think, just how crazy shit can get.
Dude, I'm with you. It's an interesting thing too that Austin is the capital of Texas, and like I heard my favorite analogy for Austin is that we're a single blueberry in a big cherry pie, but it doesn't feel like that sometimes, like because those kinds of conservatives will come to the Capitol to infiltrate. I don't know if you heard about this, but there was a gentleman named Garrett Foster that was shot during a Black Lives Matter protest here in Austin, just a couple blocks from the Capitol, and I had a lot of friends down there and a lot of people that were on the right side of that situation. And, people come here to target, liberals and people that are fighting for justice. So it's a really interesting situation being smack dab in the middle of Texas during those kinds of conversations.
Yeah, man. It's I wish it was like 15 years ago when it's like I didn't even know who the hell the president of the United States was. There was like points in my life where I was like I cared nothing about politics or who was the president or like, I would wake up in the morning and I would be like, who the hell's the president now? Like it wouldn't even be something I gave a shit about. Now I'm just like hyper aware of everything.
Yeah, I mean, that's a privilege for sure, but it's weird now. It's definitely weird. I'm hopeful. God, I'm so hopeful, but I don't have my hopes up, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's you know, I was just reading tomorrow. I guess is like the CPAC thing, and Trump's gonna go and do his thing in front of his horde of diabetic supporters. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's hard times, man. This is like we're in hard times right now. I mean, aside from COVID and people being out of work and people suffering and everyone's mental health being on the edge, it really is. These are like the tough times that they sing about in blues songs.
Dude, for real. That's very well said, Mike.
Yeah,
I'm so curious.
What
I
were you
feel
gonna
like
say?
too. Oh, I was just gonna say like the mental health crisis is gonna be insane. I mean, all the shit that's gonna come out of this. I think of young people right now, like young people that aren't able to go to school and like people that are like secluded. It's gonna be super interesting to see how this goes on to affect them in the long term.
I was thinking the same thing because I got like family members who have kids who are like 18, not 18. They were like, I would say, let's see, 12 and 14, which are like
Oh, that's a hard age.
incredibly like crucial years for people. It really dictates a lot of how you're going to be the rest of your life. I think happens like there's like these synapses that get connected in your head that you're going to either be like this type of person or that type of person, I think, back in that age group. And just the lack of like social interaction and just that whole weirdness is like how I'm really curious to see how that manifests itself later on. Like when I'm an old man, like some dude who's like running the country who's like, was like 2 years in COVID. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff.
Yeah. Hey, were you cool when you were 12? What were you like?
I don't know. I was now. I was like, am I cool now? Like, I don't even know if I don't.
Hell
Cool,
yeah.
cool is not something I would ever associate
I
with
would love to
myself.
see I would love to see a 12-year-old Mike.
Well, all
I
right.
bet you were adorable.
At 12 years old, I think I moved out of my Van Halen and Led Zeppelin and Sabbath phase, and I started riding that new wave. You know what I mean? I was starting to like
Yeah.
figure out like I think I'd heard of the Ramones, and maybe it was the year after that is when the Let Them Eat Jelly Beans that compilation came out, and
Dude, I don't know that compilation.
oh
Tell me.
this is like it might have been out for a couple of years, but like back in the 80s,
Yeah.
information was disseminated very slowly because there was no internet. There was no, someone had to tell you what was going on, basically, especially when it came
Yes.
to underground music. There was this kid, Mike Katz, who he was a few years older than me, and he was like the cool guy. He had like the cool like hair and leather jacket. And I remember
Is this in New York? Did you grow up in New York?
No, I didn't grow up in the city. This is like in the suburbs. I'm like a
Okay.
suburban like guy.
Okay, got
And
it.
one summer, this kid went to California, and before he went to California, he was all into metal. Right? It was like hard rock. And then he came back with like a punk rock haircut, and he was into like punk music. And he's like, "Ah, metal, that's for kids, man. Forget about it. I'm not into metal anymore." And he had. That's when I discovered the Let Them Eat Jelly Beans compilation. It had a picture of Ronald Reagan on it, and it had the Feeders, Black Flag, DOA. Ron Martinez probably knows all about this. Our mutual
Oh my
friend Ron.
gosh. I haven't seen Ron in forever.
And that was the beginning of my exploration into like punk rock music, and then hardcore, and then kind of like circling back to getting into like thrash and crossover music and stuff like that. But yeah, at 12, I was just some dork. I was on the wrestling team, and
Cool.
I mean, I've always been like into stuff like that too. You know what I mean? I've always been into like martial arts and wrestling and fighting and shit like that. So
Yeah, hell
starting back then when I was like 12.
Well, like just what you said is like 12 to 14 is such a formative age. Like when I was 12, that was the first time I went to a punk show. It was Blank 77 at this place called Wackies in San Antonio. And I felt like I had been saved, dude. I was like, these are my people.
So you were cool at
like,
12 then, right? So you were cool.
Exactly what you just said though is that like I had somebody to tell me that was cool. I had an older brother, and my brother was 7 years older than me. And he had a girlfriend named Omega who ended up, I don't know if you ever met Omega, but she ended up being like my best friend. And she taught me how to play guitar. And her and I had that band So Unloved for forever since I was 13. So it was like a big deal. But my brother worked at the record shop called Hog Wild in San Antonio. And so he definitely was like the biggest influence in my life. I looked up to him so much. And I looked up to Omega, who showed me all the Riot Girl and all the, Courtney Love, Hole, all those things. She's the one that like really formed my musical taste when I was young. And she taught me how to play guitar. So I was a cool 12-year-old, but only because of my company,
That's like the sickest name I've ever heard, Omega.
That's her real name too.
That's fucking so cool, man. Like was her family, kind of like hippies or into like,
dude, absolutely not.
Omega, were they Greek? I don't know. I mean, how do you come up with a name
they're
like that?
Mexican, and her full name is Omega Alejandrina Trevino. And I'm just like, oh my God, and she's the most beautiful person that's ever lived. So it works well for her. But no, people always be like, it's actually really funny because, I mean, her and I have known each other since forever, but anytime we're at a club or a bar or something and we introduce ourselves to people and it's loud, we're like, hi, she's like, I'm Omega. And I'm like, I'm CeCe. And they're like, okay, Megan and Stacy.
Megan and Stacy. That's great, man.
And I'm like, no, that's not our names. I swear. But yeah, no, she is definitely like, she's always been my muse and my idol. I love her so much. But yeah, she's in San Antonio and I'm up here. It's hard. I haven't seen her in exactly a year because of COVID.
Oh man. It's funny that, I mean, I don't see hardly anybody, you know what I mean? I see the guys in my band, we practice, and we filmed something, recently, and we're filming another thing. So there's going to be people there. I go to the
Are you
gym.
talking about music videos? Are you filming some videos?
Yeah. Like a live recording, like thing, And,
hell yeah. I like that thing that you released the other day. That was just like the visual for that super heavy song on your new album. I forget what it's called.
Secrets of the Black Sun. Yeah.
Yes. Dude, that shit is heavy.
Thank you. It's exactly how that song is exactly how I hoped it would come out. You know what I mean? It's one of those things, and the visuals, all that stuff was great.
I love that for you. I have always been super like I've never done a music video or anything, but my really good friend Frank Huesos, he reached out to me during COVID and he filmed a commercial for Zucchini Kill.
Nice.
And it was like the most fun I've had all COVID year of last year.
Sure.
But we did it super safe. There was only like 6 of us and we were all messed up, but he put a green screen on the side of my house and he somehow him and his crew, they like put like in the commercial, it's me playing my guitar on top of our delivery hearse. It's the coolest thing ever. I'm like, damn, I want to make some music videos now.
So is this
Even
out
how
on?
fun that
Is this
was.
available to see? I haven't seen this. Is it out there?
Yeah, we're releasing it next week. It's on
Okay.
our YouTube, but we're launching it next week. We were supposed to launch it the week of the snowstorm, but or like, what the hell do we have to promote? We can't do anything. But yeah, it's a really funny, cool commercial. My friends Jackson and Avery also did a song for it, like our jingle, and it's heavy. It's so cool. I can't
Nice.
wait for you to see
Yeah.
it. But yeah, the green screen, amazing. I was just like riding on on my delivery hearse playing guitar. It was rad. I'm gonna make some music videos now. I'm really inspired by that kind of shit.
It's definitely fun. You know what I mean? It's not you know, I mean I can say that, oh yeah, man, I hate it, you know, like that's like the default thing that you're supposed to say if you're like you want to be like all detached and shit. Oh, you know, I hate that. But I don't. I actually enjoy the process of doing those things. You know, and we released this thing of a live we recorded it and filmed it live, you know, and cut it, you know, like multiple cameras and a multi-track recording and all that. And, you know, it went out there and some guy complained that it was too short or whatever. And I was just like, bro, like, you know,
Yeah,
if you only knew how long and how much money and time and effort goes into making something like that, that's, you know, like the favors I had to ask for people. I mean, everyone got paid, but it's like to make a 60-minute multiple camera angle professionally
it's
cut thing
absurd.
is like an incredible amount of money. And, you know, we don't, you know, we don't sell that kind of, you know, we don't move those kind of numbers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but I was proud of it, man. I just didn't want it to be like this thing where it's like some guy with his iPhone in your practice space, and like I wanted something that would, you know, had quality to it, you know. So yeah,
Yeah, hell yeah.
I support you making videos, man. That's sick.
Thank you. It's a super vulnerable thing though, you know, to put yourself out there like that. It's very, very vulnerable.
Well, we've been beating around the bush here about this, you know, your the shop here and the bakery. So let's start talking about that. So, are you vegan? I never knew if you were or not.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So
Yeah, I've been vegan for 17 years.
oh wow, so you're like deep into the you know, the trip of being a vegan.
I've been vegan for exactly half my life now.
Wow. What
And
led
I'm
you?
gluten free too, actually. So I'm like one of those really shitty ones because I can't eat anything when I go out.
Wow.
I went vegan or I went vegetarian when I was 13 because I just like uh I was having a really hard time justifying eating meat when I was like a human rights activist in my heart. I will say that band Propaganda, do you know them from
Yeah, of
Canada?
course. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. They were a huge influence on me going vegan and you know, they sing that song where it goes like meat is still dairy is still rape and meat is still murder and I'm like, holy shit, y'all, they are right. And I just felt like I had been lied to my whole life. Like I'm compassionate people like around me, but still be like eating meat. And also there's a lot of factory farms here in Texas. It's a really interesting thing. You know, our whole state revolves around barbecue and stuff. But yeah, I went vegetarian when I was 13 and then I went vegan when I was 17. And I was actually living in Los Angeles at the time and it was very accessible there. So that wasn't a hard transition for me. But moving back to Texas when I was 20 years old was a little bit interesting. And I hadn't really had to learn how to cook when I was living in California. And when I came back, there was not a single vegetarian restaurant in the whole city of San Antonio. So I started attempting to cook. And eventually a restaurant opened in San Antonio called Green, and I went and got hired there like the first week they were open. I was like, save me, please. And yeah, so I worked there for a very long time, and I have been baking professionally since I was working there. So almost like 12 years now that I've been baking professionally, but I've always been obsessed with dessert. And honestly, dude, like, I know you've had some of my stuff from when you were here on tour, but like, it's always been a thing to me where even if people aren't vegan or aren't gluten free or whatever the hell, it's like sharing dessert with somebody is a really good way to like expose them to the eating differently, or you know what I mean? It's like you share a cupcake with somebody and they'll always be shocked when they find out there's no dairy or eggs or gluten or anything. It's really exciting. So yeah, I've kind of dedicated my whole freaking life around that somehow.
Your second life.
Yeah, my second life. It is definitely a thing where I had to quit touring to open the bakery because I don't know if you do this, but I'm the kind of person where like if I spread out my energy between too many things, I don't succeed at any of them. Like if I put my focus into one thing, I tend to be really productive in that one thing. But spreading myself thin between like playing music and touring and then also trying to start a business with zero money was gonna be impossible. And I really had to make a pretty tough decision about that, but it was appropriate timing for me. I was sick of waiting tables anytime I'd come home from a tour. It was really taking a toll on me.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, no, it's great, man. I mean, I like for me to have a like a cookie or something like that, or a cupcake, if you will.
Yeah.
Desserts are not necessarily that. I don't normally eat food like that, but it's a treat when I do. Like it's like an event. If I'm gonna have like if I'm gonna eat something like that, it has to be quality. You know what I mean? Like
Hell yeah.
I try to like I don't just go to like Wawa and get like Entenmann's donuts or something like that. You know what I mean? I have to get something super special, and that was my experience at Zucchini Kill. So I was excited
thanks,
about
Mike.
that. Yeah, totally. I was like really excited about it. I was like, yeah, this is gonna be cool. You know, I'm not vegan, but I you know, I'm not against anything. You know, I'm always very intrigued by how the creativity element of it, of how you actually you know, use those ingredients, because like believe me, you know, as you know, like playing in the DIY like hardcore scene all those years back in my youth, there's been offerings made by people of food that sometimes wasn't so great. It's like too greasy, or like, you know, and they're, oh yeah, this is vegan, man. We made this like vegan like brownie for you, and it's like it has like no flavor, and it's like real oily and stuff like that. So,
Dude, it's a whole new world now.
yeah. Well, what explain? Like, what's some of the, you know, some of the breakthroughs in vegan technology for cooking?
Well, okay, so you know, when I first started baking, I was doing everything vegan, and I learned a lot about how you don't necessarily need eggs as a binder in cake, which was like a big aha moment for me because I use apple cider vinegar with non-dairy milk to like kind of bring the moisture in. And I used before I was gluten-free, I was just using regular flour and organic sugar. A lot of sugar is refined with bone char, which makes it technically not vegan. At Zucchini Kill, we just use organic sugar, which is, you know, it's not bleached. It's like and it's not bone char refined. But anyways, I would say like vegan baking is super accessible and super easy. Having said that, the gluten-free world is a whole different thing. And I think that's why I'm so intrigued by it. I gave up gluten like 5 years ago because I was having a lot of skin issues. Like I was getting like eczema and rashes and like acne and like weird shit. And I had just read some article about how gluten can sometimes like irritate you or inflame your body to make those kinds of things happen. And as an experiment, I gave up gluten and all of that stuff went away. So I'm not like gluten intolerant or anything. I just avoid it as a choice, which is again such a privilege considering where I live. But it became, you know how like when you're writing songs or you're recording and you like can hear like multiple instruments that you see it like in your head, or like you have ideas that just kind of like form. It's like that for me with baking, where like I can see how using this, because I we carry 7 different kinds of flour in my kitchen, and it's become this thing where I just kind of like write recipes in the sense of I know what the weight and the texture of all these different flours combined create. And so I basically try to imitate textures and flavors by using the ingredients that I have on hand. So it's an interesting thing to do. It's taken a lot of practice. For a long time, I was waiting tables and taking my tip money down to the grocery store to just get ingredients to experiment with. I probably did recipe writing for at least a year before I actually opened Zucchini Kill. So, having said that, yesterday I went and I did something that was a really big accomplishment to me. I haven't had a bagel in 5 years, and I did bagels, like traditional style yeast risen bagels, using non-gluten flours. So I was making them with like chickpea and white rice and brown rice and arrowroot and all these different things. And I did the whole flash boil, bake them at high temps. And dude, I ate a bagel this morning that I made from scratch, and it was to die for. So I feel like I leveled up yesterday, Mike. Like
Oh yeah,
this is a
man, that's
very
great.
exciting thing for me. But again, it's one of those like I just have a passion for writing recipes in that sense. So to be able to have my own bakery where there's not anybody telling me like what to do or what I have to create. Me and my business partner Jess, she's actually from New Jersey and
Right
lived in
on.
New York most of her life, and she's been vegan for a really long time too. It's like we take pride in being able to like imitate stuff that people would typically have that would have like food dye or gluten or eggs or whatever. I'm very nostalgic with food. So, dude, I don't know if I gave these to you when you were here, but we make these things called cream coffins, and they're like our vegan gluten-free version of a Twinkie.
I
Did
don't
you
think
get
I
to have
had
those
that.
when you were here?
No, I didn't
Oh,
have
okay.
that.
We actually got a cease and desist letter from Hostess
Oh my
our
God,
first week
really?
open. Yeah.
Those bastards.
uh, we call them cream coffins now. Okay, so it's a better name, anyways. But I mean, that's something I grew up eating, so it was really exciting to be able to make a variation of that for people that have allergies or people that are choose to be vegan or whatever. But my biggest like most exciting thing about having our bakery the way that it is and like the inclusive ingredients that we use is that there's little kids that have been diagnosed with so many allergies. We also don't use soy or corn or artificial food coloring, and like sometimes our bakery will be the only place that kids can have a cupcake or kids can get a custom birthday cake made, and like they really appreciate that, you know. Like poor little kids that have so many food allergies, they can't enjoy themselves the way that I was able to when I was young, you know, getting to eat cake and ice cream and have parties at school or whatever. Like it's really nice to be able to accommodate people that wouldn't necessarily otherwise be able to have the kinds of sweets that we make, you know.
You know, I think that's something that is it's like a big step forward these days is how just aware people are of how food affects you, you know, as an organism, you know, as in your life and the way you think and you know your cognitive abilities, like all that stuff is very tightly connected to what you eat, you know. And I think you know beyond just being vegan, like there's also other things that people are incorporating into their lifestyle now, and they're aware of that.
Dude, totally. I also have this theory that the pesticides that are used on crops like soy and gluten in America, that I think is going to be a really is a trigger for intolerance to things too. Like I feel like maybe that's what my intolerance to gluten was, or like my like reactions from it. I feel like it's the pesticides because I've heard stories of people being able that are like gluten intolerant in America be able to go to Italy and have pasta that isn't covered in Roundup and be able to process it in their bodies. So I'm not like, it's again a very big privilege of mine, but I'm kind of a nerd about like eating organic berries and things like that too. I'm like, oh, get those pesticides away from me.
No, I agree. I mean,
It
I'm
gotta
I'm
make me
I'm on the
sick.
same kind of program. Like when it comes to, I mean, I'm not vegan, but like all my vegetables are organic, and olive oil and coconut oil, like all that stuff is organic that I eat. And I have a pretty, I don't really eat that much variety of food. It's basically just vegetables, meat, and fat. That's really what I eat. And it's like,
Dude, I think being mindful about what you eat is like just an amazing thing to accomplish on its own, you know?
yeah, and occasionally I'll have like, like some sort of like high level, cake or something like that, or treat.
Dude, what's gonna happen when I send you one of our zucchini kill boxes?
Well, I'm down. No, so that's what I'm saying. That's going to be a party.
What's gonna happen?
It's going to be a
We
party.
started doing shipping during dude, okay, so when COVID hit, like we just have our tiny little shop that's open 6 days a week, whatever. And when COVID hit, we closed for like 2 whole months.
Oh man.
And uh I was desperately trying to get like any grant and loan that we could. We actually got a grant from that company Spanx, and that was really cool. And I was able to get a loan from the Small Business Administration for the disaster loans for COVID.
Sure.
So it worked out well for us in that sense, but it was a really scary moment. And so we just like hit the ground running. Like, how are we going to be able to do this in a safe way? And creating our shipping program was one of the most difficult things that I have ever put myself through. Actually, Rocky and Jess were a huge part of us being able to like get that done. Rocky was like straight up inputting all of our items into the website, having to create this website. It was a pain in the ass, is what I'm saying. But we have been able to create a shipping program where I can ship nationwide desserts, and it has really brought me so much joy to be able to send people that I care about gifts of dessert during this time of chaos in our world. It's been really, really cool. I'm definitely going to send you a package. I'll send you some of those cream coffins, okay?
Sure. So now
Did you?
you have a fully functional web store basically for your bakery.
Yeah, yeah. The shipping, it's like you order it by a box. So there's the
Okay.
greatest hits, and the greatest hits has like the stuff that we're really well known for. Then there's the B sides, and that comes with like our seasonal stuff for the month. And next month we're releasing a PMS box, which is going to be all chocolate. And um, we also made. I spent a lot of time recipe developing some box mixes during COVID. So we have like a brutal brownie mix, and we have a chocolate chip cookie mix that come in, it's like a flour blend that you can bake with at home. And we started making our own spices too. Like we did a pumpkin spice and ginger dead for Christmas. And we have a new one called Golden Girl. It's like a golden milk spice coming out next month too. Do you fuck with golden milk?
Yeah, yeah, totally, man. With the turmeric in it and all that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. That's so good for you, especially because you be fighting and getting your ass kicked and stuff. You got to make sure that inflammation goes
Yeah,
down.
no, no, totally. I take curcumin every morning. That's part of my stack of supplements that I take every day. And
Dude,
y-
that's awesome.
yeah, but I'm a big fan of golden milk. I like all that. I like that stuff.
Killer. Yeah, I have a golden milk spice. I'll put that in the box when I send
Damn.
you one.
So where
But
the next logical question is, how can people who are listening to this podcast, where do they find all this stuff on the internet, and like where your different social accounts and all that kind of stuff?
yeah, it's just zucchinikill.com. A lot of people, I have learned this the hard way, do not really know how to spell the word zucchini. So it's Zucchini, kill, KILL.com. And, you can order shipping anytime, but, locally, we're still just doing contact free pickup. So our shop is actually closed to the public, and we just let people place orders online and do a contact free pickup at our shop during business hours. There's only 6 of us. That are doing Zucchini Kill right now, which has been really, really, really nice to be able to have like a safe, secure place for our bakers and stuff to work. Because when we did have to close for 2 months, we lost our entire staff. I mean, everybody was able to go on to unemployment, including myself for that brief period of time. But I've been so grateful for the bakers that we have in our kitchen right now. And the people that I'm surrounded by in our bakery, like, have truly just kept me sane over this past year. And we inspire each other. It's so cool, Mike. I think you would actually really appreciate this because we listen to so much music. I mean, we bake for like 10 to 16 hours a day when we are in our kitchen. And we're all music lovers. You know, my head baker Melissa and my co-owner Jess, we used to have a band together with our friend Faiza called Bondage. We have a project together, just the three of us now, called Violetera, and it's really, really cool to be baking and creating with people that inspire me, you know? And so we started doing playlists, like the Zucchini Kill Bakery Spotify account
Oh,
has
nice.
weekly playlists that we release. And I put that song Baron from that new Tombs album on the very first playlist we released
Really?
last year. Yeah.
Wow. You know,
Hell yeah.
thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that. And that song has a very actual, very like one of those for me, the end of that song, right? That kind of epic, like old school, like heavy metal, like ending.
Hell yes.
I when I was in the studio when we were listening back to the mixes, like I got super emotional because that when I was a kid, like first getting into all this stuff, I used to listen to like I still do, but I mean I was really into like UFO and the Scorpions and these like
Yes.
European like Euro metal like type stuff, and I'm like, man, someday I'm gonna get practice my guitar and I'm gonna like write some music that has this makes me feel that same way. Like I would listen to like Uli Roth and like Michael Schenker and those guys. And that song in the studio, I had this I had such a feeling of accomplishment, and I was like, man, this is like I got like really, really emotional when we were in the studio on that song, just the ending part. I mean, the rest of the song
Dude.
is like whatever, it's like typical bullshit that we do, but
Shut up.
but the
No,
ending was like really
I like that
meaningful.
song. I like that song a whole lot, and now I
Thanks.
like it even more knowing that little story. It's cool though. I feel like very it's so cool to be able to like share music with our customers that like or our friends from across the country, like whoever is following us. Like I post about our Spotify playlist every Friday, and I'm like, this is what we've been jamming in the studio this week, or like this is some stuff that just came out that we're really excited to listen to. You know, it's a way of us getting to incorporate music into our world, even though I'm not actually out going to shows or anything, which has been kind of a culture shock in a sense. I'm sure
Oh
very
man.
much so for you. Yeah.
Well, before we started talking, I was telling you about my whole model out here of how my life would be out here in New Jersey. Because I don't know how many years, I spent decades living in New York City, and just being able to go places and walk around and go to shows and all that. And I was like, okay, well, this part of Jersey's only in less than an hour. I could be at like St. Vitus or whatever, and I was all situated to do that, and then we got locked down, and I've been like stranded, like out here, really, like with total isolation, for like the whole year, except for the guys in my band. Like where the band is actually based out here in Jersey now, so at
Oh,
least,
that's awesome. I was wondering.
yeah, we got a space. Our practice space is a town called Keyport, and the only Matt, our other guitar player, he lives in Queens right now, but the rest of us live out here in Jersey. So, there's that.
That is so convenient for this hell time.
Totally, man. So
I
let me ask you about the vibe of the store too, because like, I've been down there, and it's one of the things that grabbed me right away was this kind of punk rock metal vibe that you guys have.
yeah.
Yet there is a very specific pro woman thing going on there, which I think is cool.
Yeah. We it's it's funny that you're like, oh, it's got a vibe. We had this review that somebody had written. I don't read our reviews. Okay, just saying that. I don't read the reviews. That makes me a crazy person. But we had this woman she gave us like a 3-star review and said, there's a satanic aura in this shop and I will not be returning. Like,
Well,
it was just so funny to me. But because everything is pink and it's like our shop is bright purple and whatever, but yeah, it's very much, I've had people tell me, good friends of mine be like, CeCe, this shop looks like your bedroom. And I'm like, well, but yeah, we, I will say this, we had a very particular vision when we were doing our shop. And our shop is, it's kind of,
hello?
in
Oh,
Austin, that is still like DIY and kind of underground feeling. Like for the longest time in Austin, I mean, I'm sure you came to Austin back in the day when it was just like the Mecca in Texas for that kind of vibe, like the alternative vibe,
yeah,
and
yeah.
so many small businesses, just like such a cool spot. And the area where we are now is kind of one of those last living spaces in Austin. And so it's a vegan food truck, like, yard. And then we're in the building behind the food trucks. And there's also like an analog repair shop there. And there's a local magic store, like an occult store right there too, called Yarrow and Sage, which is really, really cool spot. But yeah, we just made sure that we incorporated everything that we stand for. So, lots of local vendors. Like when the shop was open to the public, we carried tons and tons of small hand batch women owned businesses products. And we kind of used it as a space for friends that needed to do book signings, or, we would hold markets there. It was a really, before COVID, it was Zucchini Kill was a really cool like community space. And my favorite thing in the world was when bands and friends of mine would come through on tour. Like when you got to bring your whole band over to the shop. That is like that's like what we live for. I also have made it a point to I mean, I've been doing this kind of since I was a little kid, but like baking desserts to bring to shows and to bring to our friends that are on tour. Like being vegan on tour myself, anytime somebody brought me vegan food to a show, it was like the best night of my life. So we have dedicated ourselves to making sure that when people that we admire come through, that if they don't get a chance to come to the shop, that we definitely bring them some of our treats to their shows. And it fortunately, even though we have a satanic aura of our shop, the community has really supported us. Not just the vegan community, dude. Like, Austin has such a big music community, and I'm always like shocked and so grateful for the support that we get from just normal ass people that don't care about what ingredients are in their cupcakes that come to support us. So it's been an experience opening it, and it's honestly been kind of an intense thing, especially this last year. But the support that we have from like our amazing staff and community here in Austin, and all the people that have been ordering shipping from us, it's been such a relief. And like, I'm just really, really grateful to be in the spot that we're in right now.
Yeah, I just wanted to get that out there because, like, some people listen to this, I'm assuming, playing bands, and, probably the type of
They're like, why the
people.
hell are you talking to a bakery?
No, no, what? No, 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 no. Probably would appreciate the vibe. You know what I mean? Like, because
Oh,
like
hell
when
yeah.
we were there, you guys were listening to Celtic Frost, which what I thought was awesome, and you guys have a satanic vibe, which is always good. I'm always
Dude, did you see those buttons that we made that say Celtic frosting?
yeah. No, those are great. Those are amazing. I follow you on Instagram. I see all that stuff.
Thanks, Mike. I love making band puns that people don't understand. We have a cupcake named Lavender Cata, and Dercata, like, I'm a huge fan of them. I have been for a very long time, but it's a lavender cupcake. I think it's a funny, cute name for a cupcake. A lot of people are just like, I don't know what this is. Like, what is this called? Like, how do I say that? I'm like, they don't get it. It's a really good introduction for me to be like, you should look them up. This
Yeah,
is named after a band. Look them up, please.
you can expand your awareness of things and learn. That's always important too.
Yes, hell yes. I will say too, the only other thing that people have been commenting a lot about our business is that I bought a hearse last year. Like we got a hearse for I think it was like $4,000, dude. I flew to Oklahoma to get this hearse from a funeral home. But I was looking at vans and delivery vans for a business. I mean, I have my old van, my old tour van, which is completely dead. It's like a little hangout spot in my backyard right now. But like, dude, vans are expensive as hell.
Oh
So
yeah.
we got a hearse and I can fit so many cupcakes in that hearse. It's crazy. But we got it wrapped and it says our cupcakes are to die for on the back. And like I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but we be getting the looks from people.
I mean, I think you could look at it a couple different ways. Like I always side with the individuality. You know what I mean? And I think that like if it's not for you, it's not for you. You know what I mean? Like that's one way of looking at it. You know, and that's how I would look at it. Like the kind of stuff that I like is not for everybody. You know, the kind of energy I put out there is not for everybody. And like I think that's probably the way to go. And if you don't, if they get offended by the satanic vibe or the hearse or whatever, it's like you probably shouldn't go there. You know?
Dude, it's all in fun, you know? I'm just like, we're just being totally genuine to like the things that we like and the things that bring us joy. And I love driving that hearse around town. So it is what it is, you know? It's like that with music too. It's like you're not writing music for other people.
Hell
You write
no.
it for yourself. And the people that have the most success and joy in what they do is because they do it for themselves and they're genuine and true to what they're doing. So fuck it, you know?
Yeah, totally, man. It's you can't go through life trying to please other people, man. You know that.
Hell no. Hell no.
All right, so I want to cover all this again, just so people can go and check you out online and follow your social accounts, and also the Spotify playlist. Like it's just Zucchini Kill Bakery. Is that how they find you on?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, you just search Zucchini Kill Bakery and it's a profile and it's linked directly to the iPad we have in our kitchen. So I realized this the other day, but like people can see what we're listening to in the moment as well, which is like retro. But there's also really, really eclectic playlists that we release every Friday. And I do try to be super inclusive of like, you know, bands that we like that have new songs coming out to make sure to include those. But it's a wide variety of music on there, and a lot of our friends get a kick out of it. So I hope that other people will start listening and appreciate that as well. It's a cool, you know, it's always 12 songs, so it's like just the amount of time for like a short commute or whatever, you know, just to like see what the hell is going on in the crazy girls down south in their kitchen right now. And then yeah, our Instagram is Zucchini Kill Bakery, and we post a ton of stuff on there and what our shipping looks like for the month, and what our specials look like and merch and things like that. And yeah, we're releasing that commercial next week. I can't wait for you to see it and to hear the song. I think you're gonna really like the song and the commercial, Mike.
That's awesome. I mean, the by the time when this episode comes out, the commercial will be released because
Oh hell yeah.
yeah, so that's awesome. So people will be able to catch that like once they hear this to be able to find it.
Yeah,
And
look us up. We
yeah,
want to send you some treats.
and you were doing this thing where you're profiling all of the people that work there. I noticed that too.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, we started doing that for Galentine's, which we take Galentine's very seriously at Zucchini Kill. Last year we did a menstrual product drive for the Safe House here, and we were so excited for the amount of menstrual products that we were able to donate. We couldn't even fit it in one car. So, again, the community coming out. But for this year, we were like, dude, we should do little features on the babes that work for Zucchini Kill because, like, seriously, like, as a small business, the only reason that we are able to survive this whole shitstorm and the only reason that we're able to thrive at all is because of the amazing people that work with us in our kitchen and in our shop. And it's been a really cute way to I don't know, show them some love and kind of like shine a light on them. And they're making playlists for every feature too. So when you go to the Zucchini Kill Bakery Spotify playlist. You can check out what each individual listens to. Although I didn't do one because there's a lot of my personal playlists listed on there too. But yeah, it's a really cute way for us to just like show them some love.
Right on. That's awesome. Well, thanks for spending time with me this evening. I appreciate it. And yeah, man, that's hopefully sooner than later I'll be able to bring the other the other guys down, my crew of degenerates down to Austin, and we can get some cupcakes.
Dude, you are welcome here any goddamn time.
Hell yeah.
I miss you. I'm so happy to get to hear from you. Thank you so much for including me.
Absolutely.